For our next segment, we turn it over to Bill Velasco.
Thanks, Nisi and Ed. So, Clarissa Shields challenges Jake Paul to a fist fight, an actual boxing match. And let's bear in mind that Clarissa Shields is not any bitter feminist, ordinary Joe off the street. She is a two-time Olympian, a medalist. She's been a world boxing champion. She has been a multiple champion, in fact. And given the state of women's boxing in the United States and around the world, women are not earning as much. They're not getting as much attention as the men are. And this may be one way for her to get that for her gender. Now, the question is, should women and men be fighting in the ring against one another? Well, the traditional stereotype is that men are hunters, women are gatherers. Men physically are more top heavy, whereas women have a lower center of gravity for potential birth. And that's the way that people used to look at women. But as we've seen ever since women were allowed into the Olympic Games in the first place, that women can and often do hold their own against men. There are several sports actually where women can and do compete directly against men. You have horse racing, you have darts, you have, of course, the equestrian sports and other sports such as sailing and motorcycle racing. Now, in the Olympic Games, specifically the Winter Olympics, there is a sport called the biathlon, which combines downhill skiing with rifle shooting. And that is one category wherein women directly compete against men. You may have heard of the original battle of the sexes between top-ranked tennis player Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And Bobby Riggs was definitely the underdog in that match and drew the short end of the stick simply because he was much, much older than a prime Billie Jean King. In more recent years, in 1998, the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, said they could beat any man ranked out of the top 200 in tennis. Well, they didn't. Karsten Brash, who was ranked 203rd in the world, accepted the challenge and beat both of them. And they both admitted that chasing down shots and getting the shots fired back at them was much harder than they had originally anticipated. But what about combat sports? Have there really been situations where men and women have fought in the ring or in other combat arenas? In 1997, Martin O'Malley, then an up-and-coming boxer, had a manager called Bob Jarvis who wanted to set up a fight with Christy Martin to get his boxer some additional exposure and some mileage. And of course, as we've talked about on the show, Christy Martin was already a big name in boxing. Isa po siya sa mga nakilalang nanguna, no, para sa mga kababaihan sa larangan ng professional boxing. Well, it was quite difficult for them to even pin down Don King to get this match set up. And it was next to impossible over the next 2 years. Then, 2 years later, they encountered Margaret McGregor, who was a fighter from Washington, and she was willing to fight Hector Morales, one of the fighters that they handled. Unfortunately, after the press conference, Morales, citing personal reasons, decided to back out from the fight. Instead, his trainer, Lloyd Chow, decided to step in, and the fight was held October 9, 1999. And to this day, that is really the most known first contact between men and women inside the boxing ring. Now, all things considered, are men and women equal, given that they'd be the same weight going into the ring as in traditional boxing matches? It's hard to say. But should they be fighting each other in the ring? Frankly, I don't think so, because, this whole Clarissa Shields thing is basically to show that Jake Paul is not really a boxer. He's just getting all this undue attention and money, which women boxers who put in the same amount of hard work should be getting. That's my crash course on men versus women in the boxing ring.